welcome to this celebration of Arlene. I just want to check, can you hear me with the mask on? Okay? Yeah? So the doors are closed now, so I'm not sure. I thought one more was going to come. You're grand to be seated as well. Okay. So for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Karen and I'm a celibate. So I'll be going through the ceremony today and it will take just over an hour. And it's quite engaging, so I'm going to invite you all to speak at different points if you feel like doing so. Okay. How it's done is through the elements. Okay. So we're working with the element of earth, water, fire, and air. When we work with earth, we're talking about Arlene as she was on this planet, on the earth. You know. And when we go to water, water is to do with emotions, so we can talk about our feelings about Arlene, our time here and how we knew her. Fire is about illumination, joy, storytelling. So if there's anyone wants to share a wee story, we can do so then. And then when we come to air, we come to say our farewell and we bring her back into the ether. Okay. We have some of Arlene's friends here too from America, and they're on Zoom on this camera. And they're going to be invited in at different points as well. And we have there's a wee song and a couple of people want to say anything as well. Okay. We're still okay with numbers, aren't we?
Still empty chairs.
Okay. So there's still people gathering, but Derry time. That's the thing. Okay, right at the end. So I'm going to invite you all just to put your feet on the ground, nice and flat on the ground. So you're ground. You're ground. Oh, 10 points.
You want me to play?
No, go ahead then.
Right, I'll play a couple of songs just to get this out of the room. Alright. I think because Arlene loved with analysis, she deserves at least one song. I usually don't do funerals, but this is a song. The song's called Go Ask the Woman on the Other. It rained the morning they brought you home. I still hear your mother's tears falling like stones. The world had broken her only one. The flag was folded, the war went on. I seen people angry, I held others who just cried. Friends I knew as young as you put their hands on the flag to do the things that need to be done. Go ask the women and the young, for they will come and haunt you, sometimes dead out on the street. And here I am, I'm back again with blood on my feet. I thought we would shine forever, all our rivers would run free. I'm afraid if I forget you now, who'll remember me? They think it's over, but they don't know what they've won. Go ask the women and the young. Go ask the women and the young. 'Cause these old graveyards get lonely. We've been coming here this long, but we just keep on digging, digging, digging on. And every year we gather here beneath the Easter sun, remembering our fallen and the things that still need done. Go ask the women and the young. Go ask the women and the young.
Thanks, Miko. There was a few people just coming on there, so we're just going to start again, okay? So I just want to start just with a wee bit of grounding. Can you not hear me now? Oh, can I take this off? Yes. Are you fine? Is that alright if I take this off? Right, okay. Sorry, Dad. So what I'm going to invite you to do is, if you're comfortable to do so, is just to close your eyes for a wee second, just so that we're all kind of in the room together and grounded, with feet flat on the floor. Okay. And if you just visualize just behind your belly button your energy. Okay. If you imagine two threads coming down your legs, through your hamstrings, down the back of your legs, your calves, coming out the centre of your feet, through your shoes, through the carpet, and into the ground. The energy is going deep into the earth, through the soil, through the granite and stone, deep into the earth's core. Right until it reaches the magma, and then just gently touching the magma, shooting back up again, right up through the earth, through crystal caves, through ancient civilizations, right up through the soil, through the concrete, through the carpet, through your shoes, through the centre of your feet, coming up your legs and back into where your belly button is. And then I want you just to visualize a single thread, like a silver colour, coming right up the back of your spine, past your heart, coming right out the crown of your head, and reaching up high through the sky, through the clouds, right up into the night sky. And you see a star. That star is yours from where you came. You gently touch the star, connecting with it, and reluctantly coming back down to the earth, through the sky, through the clouds, coming through the ceiling, back into this room, through the crown of your head, and allowing it just to sit in your heart space as we do this wee ceremony for Arlene today. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I'm going to start, as I was saying, through the elements, and I'm going to start with the element of earth. And we're going to talk about the earth representing the grounded and earthly life of Arlene. If we think about the earth, we have crystals, flowers, the living presence of Mother Earth. And normally what I would do is give each of you a flower and pass it about, and we would all have a turn to speak, but because of social distancing, we're just going to Abla. Okay. And there is people in America too who will speak as well. Okay, so with the earth, we're thinking about how we connected to Arlene. Okay. What she was like, her friendship, her kindness, her generosity, her strength, her enthusiasm, and what was she like as a person on earth. I'm going to open it up first into the room if anybody would like to say a wee word about maybe how they knew Arlene, how they connected with her, and what she was like as a person. If you don't want to speak, that's okay too.
I would just like to say that I knew Arlene for many years. I met her through Mary Nellis. She came to Derry to stay with Mary. From the offset, it was clear that she was a wee dynamo. She had loads of enthusiasm, and she was very creative. I just wanted to share that creativity with everybody that she knew. And that's who I'll remember.
I'll remember in the same way because I met her through Hawks working at the carnival for Halloween. We did the skeleton, willow and tissue puppets, and me and Kiva met Arlene that day, and Kiva became really good friends with her. So for me, it's through the creativity as well. She was bursting with it, and no idea how much, her art's all around the room as well.
I met Arlene through Mary Nellis as well. Probably a whole lot of us did. And she came and she stayed with Mary. And, I suppose we had a lot of people coming to the town at that time, particularly a lot of American tourists. But from the minute you met Arlene, she was very unique. Great things come in small packages. We were all astounded by all the size of her. But the laugh she had was like, where did that just come from? And I suppose she stayed with my husband and I for about 3 months. One other time she came back, and we'd only one child at the time, and I was pregnant with our second. So she was a great help. She was a great help about the house. She was another woman. She was there then when the baby was born, so she stayed with us for another while, and then we had our third child. And it's funny, when Maeve rang me, I'd already heard the news, but when Maeve rang me, we just all stopped what we were doing and started ringing one another and talking about the stuff Arlene did. And one of the biggest things was the t-shirts, Maeve, the free Derry t-shirts for Frontline in 2020, and interestingly enough, we still have them. But and any time she came back, she made a point of going to visit people, and she made the effort to keep in touch. She made the effort, because I'll admit that you get caught up in your own life and your own world, and you don't always know. But Arlene always made. But I'll remember her for the laugh, definitely the laugh, because it was like, what just happened there? And she laughed for the first time. I was like, whoa, what just happened? Thank you.
Thanks. And Daisy, did you want to say something there?
Yeah, I was just thinking about what Hawk said, and through her creativity. My certainly initial meeting with Arlene, and actually thereafter, was through politics, basically. And she had this multifaceted life. So she came over to Derry. I first met her in '89 when she came over on a NORAID delegation. Now NORAID, for those of you that were around at that time, often were made up of enthusiastic Americans that wanted to see life in Ireland, and particularly during the Troubled period. But often their politics were to the right of centre, to put it nicely. Whereas Arlene's weren't. They were very obviously to the left. So she stood out often in the group, because she came with NORAID a couple of times before she started coming independently. So she and I became friendly, and we just engaged in lots of politicking. We had our differences, and she could give as good as she get, but so could I. We had many a verbal battle about different things over the years, but I certainly treasure that politics. She was a feminist, she was a socialist, and she considered herself a Republican. And I think that's really important to acknowledge that part. And of all the people I've met through Arlene now, particularly sadly through this last 10 days, the creativity that she's obviously exudes. I mean, when Kiva was putting out, you know, all her artifacts that she has in her flat, it was amazing, you know, and I was aware of some of it, but not a lot of it, you know, so it's rather sad that in death I've learned a lot more about her, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe that's a lesson for us all.
Yeah. Thanks, Stacey. Ketchum, you're looking at me. Do you want to speak?
I suppose like Daisy, I met her through political events that were always happening this time of year on Bloody Sunday, the Troubles, and down at Pilot's Row, and she was always popping up every year, and she actually stayed with me one of the periods that she came over, and yes, and I remember seeing her then, maybe one of the last major political things was when Martin McGuinness was being interviewed. I forget by whom, but I remember her there, and you know, she loved photography as well, and she would be there with her camera, and I don't know if she was doing videoing as well, I can't remember, but and you know, she did, her mantra was, "This is my home here, I'm at home here," and I also would have met up with her in New York. Anytime I went, she always wanted to meet with me. To me, it was like any connection she could have with Ireland, please have me, you know. And just being in the presence was like Ireland's in my soul. And I do think, you know, her coming here for the last few years was just such a gift she gave to herself. And I don't think she would ever have wanted to go back to America. I do think this is where she wants, you know, her resting place to be. And yeah, I mean, she always would have kept in touch, and the creativity that we've all talked about. She would always remember my birthday and send me, you know, her own made crafted cards, and probably the same for Christmas and stuff. And yeah, she was a real bubbly person, and there was also I think a sad side to her as well, and I'm sure that was a major challenge and struggle for her throughout her life. So, you know, my heart goes out to her this time, to her soul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ketchum. So just thinking on what Ketchum's saying, and we're talking about the element of earth, and you know, like Arlene being from America and living in Norway and being in Cuba, like American Cuba in the 70s, you know, and then coming to Derry, and I just feel like she felt like her heart and her soul, she rooted in Derry in the end in Ireland, and it's incredible the support, you know, what she's given to Derry as well, and the support she got back. Did anyone else want to say?
I suppose, I mean, for me, I met Arlene through Republicanism as well, and she was, you know, she was that bundle of energy. But one of the things that used to strike me, not as much her laugh, but her dance movements were just, you know, this wee small woman and these just crazy moves, you know, and so we had a lot of laughs over the years, and we had a lot of tears as well, because I think behind Arlene's bubbly persona there was a sadness, you know. But I think one of the things that's struck me in the last few days is how she's connected people too. Because she came here and I suppose she took a big challenge. Because Derry had changed. We all had changed. But yet she connected with all yous. And yous were so all the people here were so good. You know, she was very grateful for that.
She could just people.
She loved Derry, you know, and this is where she would want.
I think it's incredible too, just because I just knew her from the arts, and I didn't know about politics, and then there was zero waste as well, and what else? The clay trail, the edible garden, and you know all sorts. She was just and a food bank, and you know, she was just out there and just volunteering it and giving it out there. And amazing. And the Free Derry Museum as well. And, amazing. Did anybody else want to say anything?
I just say there, I met Arlene through the food bank, myself and Anne. She was, just like everybody says, she was a wee firecracker down there too, so she was. She had the energy that keeps all going and moving, so she did, especially when it was busy and hard going. She just was there to help people, so she was. And that's what she wanted to do, to be there for people. So it was an honour to be here today.
Does anybody else want to say anything?
Can I say a few words just in terms of quality of my work? Here, but ironically, our father died about 3 years ago, and you know, people will know about the importance of wakes at that time, and it's very sad that they're all curtailed at the minute. But we would have had Tricia Loeb and Roisin Keenan, who vied for control of the kitchen, and people will understand that what that means at a wake. And Arlene came on and actually tried to take over the kitchen, much to Roisin's annoyance. So, but there were people arriving, obviously people arriving all the time, and there was a number of people arrived, and they went into the, where our father was, where remains were, and I went out the kitchen, and Arlene was there doing the dishes and whatever, and I says, Arlene, tea? And she looked at me, obviously not knowing what the sort of custom and practice was, but she looked at me as though I was mad and pointed at the teapot.
Fair play there.
I'm not being sexy, but that was the way it was. So, but I was sort of going, God. So, but anyway, that's one of the sort of funny things I remember.
Thank you. I'm going to invite Janice Lewis. Do we have a speaker for her? Just going to go So, Janice, we're going to put you on speaker. Are you okay to speak?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Just a wee second, do we get you the wee speaker set up there? Is it not working? Oh, you're going to have to take out their cover off. Okay. To get so the jack works. Is there technical issues from coming in from America? Do you want me to do it?
Sort of Arlene's calling card to have internet issues anyway, so I cannot keep it up.
Sorry, I'm too close to you. Are you ready?
Just gonna have to stay like that.
So we're just yeah, that's you now. Can you hear?
Yeah.
We can hear you now, Janice.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. So, Arlene and I, we met in 1989, or the late 80s, and when she first went to Derry in 1989, she really was changed, and as she told me not too long ago, when she came down to New York and to disperse Cliff's ashes, I hadn't seen her for a while until she came down, and it was as if no time had passed. Arlene, her soul seems to weave itself into our lives, and you know, as small as she was big in soul, big in heart, and she was blessed to be able to find Derry, and she found her place, she found her home, and I think that this is where she wanted to stay. She didn't feel that she wanted to come back. It's like a finding home. It's finding home, and she did. And it's a blessing. And I thank you all for being there with her and sharing your lives and your place and your history with her. Because you touch something deep that not all of us get to feel. And so I appreciate not just your community, but the love that you gave her and the recognition that she found with you and that I hope you all found with her. Other people have mentioned her laugh, which was really bigger than the room. It was something that we will all remember. I think we'll be turning our heads when we hear somebody. We'll think, oh wait, is that Arlene? But no, it isn't. But it is and it isn't. And so time is so strange. Time moves on, and somehow Arlene stayed Arlene throughout these 30-something years that I've known her. And now that she's gone, I bring her voice to mind, and I bring her laugh to mind, and I bring our memories to mind. So she was a blessing, and you all are just so wonderful to have given her this home. And so I'm glad that you will be taking care of her now, and I hope that we can meet again under happier circumstances, but we will always be talking about Arlene.
Thank you so much, Janice. Thank you. That was lovely. So moving on to the elements of water. So water is representing emotions, creativity, feelings, love, sadness, depths of their heart and soul in Arlene's life. The first waters we experience in the mother's womb, the father seed as well. And water is our expression of tears for grief, for the passing of Arlene. So this is a point where we could speak about our feelings and our grief through the element of water. Normally, we would all be asked to take a sip and hold the chalice. But in the times we're in, I'm not going to make you do that. So, but I have gathered waters on the winter solstice from Rafo, Bridget's Well, and from Maville, the Columkill Well, and I've scented them as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour them into the wee bottle and I'm going to spray right around. If everybody's okay with that. So the wee bottles, the stag is representing the masculine, the father line, and because we've all come from a mother line and a father line, and the wee red one is representing the mother line. Has anyone here heard of Professor Emoto? Yeah? So he, do you want to tell us about it?
Can I take this one? Professor Emoto was Japanese. He studied the effects of positive and negative speech on water, and he wrote a book. He's passed away now. He passed away a few years ago, but I actually met somebody in London who worked with him in Japan. He studied water under a microscope and spoke negatively or positively over it and brought it to the point of freezing. And any of the droplets of water from different rivers around the world, the microscope showed up the effects of positivity in the form of a perfect snowflake, and negativity showed up under the microscope as a distorted snowflake. And his theory was as well that because we're made up of over 70% water, that we have to be mindful how we think towards other people, speak towards other people, and how we think towards ourselves in a positive or negative way. We have to be conscious.
Yeah.
So this was his proof.
Yeah. Thanks.
So that's.
Yeah. Thank you. I couldn't have said it better. So he believed that you can change the molecular structure of water by the power of thought. So I'm going to ask us to give that a wee go and put the positivity into this. If we're all take a wee moment, and I'm going to then spray it around Arlene, and maybe Audrey, if you would spray it around the room as well, if you don't mind. If we take a wee moment just, and if everybody wants to think of Arlene and think of the connections and positivity and healing, and just focus it in on the water here. You'll see snowflakes come out of this now whenever I spray it.
Snowflakes up here.
Speak for yourself, Mr. Bell.
I'll say nothing. Do you want to spray it around, or are you comfortable to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Joanna?
Yes. Oh, I have to unmute, right? Am I muted?
I hear you
No.
clearly.
Oh, okay. Hi.
You're good.
Hi. All right.
Would you like to speak?
Okay.
We cannot hear you.
All right. Let's see. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm in Brooklyn, New York, I first met Arlene, I guess it must have been 1988. So I guess so we were involved in a group called Ventana. It's the Spanish word for window. And it was an organization of cultural workers in solidarity with people of Nicaragua. Cultural workers meaning artists, musicians, photographers, writers, teachers. And so they organized delegations to Nicaragua to learn. That was during the Sandinista Revolution. And so Arlene had a better memory than I did. So she remembered the first time she saw me, which I don't remember, was going to one of these meetings, and I went there by bicycle. I'm sorry, the room's shaking.
Okay.
The room's shaking a little bit there. And but also around this time, I used to work doing word processing in these big law firms in the middle of the night. And there was one of these law firms, Dewey Ballantyne, and Arlene worked there. I don't remember if she was a proofreader or a word processor. So we'd be there in the wee hours of the morning because the deadlines would be at 8 a.m. And what I remember with Arlene is this company treated us really well, and she would use their Xerox machines. She was always using them to make copies of newsletters for political organizations. Yeah, she's had this incredible warmth, and I remember after she'd been to Derry how she was so inspired and loved Ireland. Once I cat sat for her. She had a 20-year-old cat named Graham. And then I was out of touch with her for many years. In the meantime, I was in California, and I think she found me through Facebook. And as Janice said, 30 years could go by, and it was like, same Arlene, that same warmth and bubbliness, and, same. It was as if the time had gone by. And the last time I saw her was when she was living in upstate New York with Cliff. And I visited her there and brought along my daughter and my niece. I don't remember how old they were. Maybe my daughter, maybe she was like 12 or so. And they had this swimming pool there. And so they were invited to swim in the swimming pool. And nobody used the swimming pool. I forget if Arlene didn't know how to swim, and maybe the idea was for Cliff for hydrotherapy, but nobody used it. And they got to use it. And Arlene was just so generous. So she was always trying, giving. I think she's the kind of person who didn't receive so well. She was just very much on the giving end, and just so warm. And we were going to meet up before she left for Ireland, tried, but things got too busy for her. So since then, just been in touch through Facebook. I guess at least in Spanish, for somebody, somebody dies, you'd say Arlene vive, she lives on. And I just feel that way very much, that her spirit is just so strong. She's just so vibrant and full of life. So, that's certainly how I think of her. It was pretty shocking to hear that suddenly she's not in this realm. So, and I just happened, I don't even know how I happened to see that Facebook posting, but since then I've been in touch with some people from Ventana, so I think they're going to also organize like a Zoom memorial, so it definitely brings people together.
Yeah, lovely. yeah, it's hard when you're away too and you can't be here. But thank you, that was really beautiful. Thank you, Joanna.
Yes.
So yeah, just again thinking of Arlene and emotion and just that connection and how she brought us all together and oh, the mask, you can't hear me. And that Arlene Viva is just I found that beautiful. Does anyone else want to speak about maybe any emotions, whether it be grief or sadness? Because there was definitely a sadness too, you know, that went, as you said, with, you know, along with Arlene. And I know people are saying, you know, I wish I could have and all this, but it is what it is, you know. But I'm going to open this space for a minute if anybody wanted to speak, and if not, you can hold a wee silence for her as well.
I'm not sure if it's a misplaced word, but optimism, because along with the sadness and the grief, every time I encountered Arlene, there was always optimism. Like through all the work that we all know her from, she was doing it because she was optimistic about the change that she was creating in our communities and in her own life. And even in small things, like we worked together in the Carnival of Colours, and she injured herself one time, and it was like, for us, we were like, how can we make this better? And she was like, I got to be here for the weekend and I had a great time. You know, she's seen the positivity in it straight away. And even just before, and I know this is more linked to me, but before Christmas I was out again working, and I bumped into Arlene and Kiva up the town, and she was carrying one of the wee pride slates, and she was like, I knew I was going to bump into you up the town, so I was bringing it with me so that I can, because I knew I was going to see you. And I was like, how, like, that's just a mindset that, like, I think that we all need to tap into, because even though that makes me feel really sad, because I'm like, oh, I wish that circumstances meant that we seen each other sooner. I just thought that was amazing, because she just knew that she was going to bump into us at some stage. Do you know, like, in a way, she just like was like, I'm going to make it my mission to bump in, and I just thought that was beautiful. And so I have it, I'm really grateful I have it today, and I see some dotted around the room. But just that's what I always would take away. And every time I left Arlene, I felt she should just like put it on you then, that optimism, or you were like bouncing away from her. Where I was like, I hope people don't think I'm trying to like be like her and I'm bouncing away and singing and dancing, but she's just class. Like, she's just pure energetic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Just as you're saying that too, I met her one day with Kiva as well, and she gave me some rosemary from the edible garden. And it was that same kind of thing, like, oh, I knew I was going to see you, and I knew you'd want this, and you would do something with it. So I have some, you know, in the kitchen, but I also keep some for ceremonies. And just as you're speaking that, I'm going to put a wee bit of the rosemary from the edible garden onto the wee burner there as well. And rosemary is good for focus and concentration and all that too. Thanks, that's lovely. But it is a time to share our emotions with her and our own, you know, as well. Not about Arlene and how we felt about her, you know, as well. So I'm going to invite Marge from the States to speak about Arlene next. Hi, Marge. me?
Yes.
Okay, we can
Can you
hear
hear
you. We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. They're very touched. Janice and Johanna, very touched. It's like everything I have to say is so shallow compared to your beautiful tributes. You know, Arlene and I met probably in 1985 at tap dancing class in the city, and you know, we both took it 2-3 times a week. We just loved it. We became instant friends, and then in 1986 was my 20-year reunion, high school reunion, and I was like on the committee, and I was like preparing a yearbook. So there was no way to do anything in the proper way. Nobody had a computer in 1986, but Arlene had a Radio Shack computer. So I was going back and forth. I would prepare, type it. She would put it on her Radio Shack, so therefore I could make corrections on it. And I came out. Because of Arlene, I produced just a great yearbook, a memento for the reunion. And then Arlene and I lost touch. Probably in the early 90s. I never met Cliff. I didn't know about Cliff because we somehow lost touch. But we got back in touch in 2011, and we've been in touch since. And then I was, you know, on the phone, on Facebook, and all that, which was wonderful. But I did see her right before she left to Derry. We went to see Kinky Boots, and we did brunch at Marseille on 42nd and 9th, and then we went to see Kinky Boots, and then we went to another cool little place on 9th Avenue. In fact, I sent pictures to Kiva, and I think she was staying in the city that night, and I think yeah, well, I forget exactly, but she was going shortly, maybe a week later or something. And I was just so shocked that we had been in touch. I love seeing all her Facebook stuff, you know, all the stuff, the no waste day, and I mean everything, all the things that she was participating in. I immensely enjoyed seeing. You know, I looked at every picture, commented on a lot. I just love seeing the life that she, you know, created for herself. And I'm just in shock. I had no idea of anything other than she was looking to come back. I don't even know why she was coming back. Maybe a visa, I'm not sure. But we never had an opportunity to chat. That's where I would have learned that. So I didn't even get to that. And then I find out that she died. I'm shocked. I'm just shocked and so sad for her. She had a lot of gas left in her tank, as we all know. So I appreciate being here and having the opportunity to say a few words and see her wonderful friends and hear about the Sandinistas and which I remember. I was never political. I never understood any of this, but it was good to hear. You know, you remind me of that, Johanna, and so. Lots of you know, good health and good luck to everybody. It's really a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Marge. And I think it's lovely. I think we were all enjoying hearing about the tap dancing too.
Say it again about what did you say about tap dancing?
I think everybody here loved hearing about the tap dancing.
So
thank you for sharing.
And our instructor was a major hot shot, you know, and it was cool. I just felt like the coolest thing. You know, she was more used to being around anything related to the theater. Me, I was like in awe. I felt like I was, you know, in a rehearsal space for 42nd Street or some tap.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
It was cool.
Thank you. So we're going to move on now to the element of fire. So the flame is the light that illuminates the path to the next consciousness. Fire represents Arlene's passion and love of life here on this earth, of creativity, falling in love, adventures, her love of friends, of travel, of Ireland. stories of fun and joy growing up, and just stories that we have of her, and anything that we would like to share. But before we do so, oh, you're holding that. Maybe Audrey, could I call on you again to bring me the wee candle? We'll just light that. This wee candle is Arlene's candle, and Audrey told me that. And we're just going to light it off this candle. So this lovely lantern was done locally by Ashley Ramsey. And when I trained as a sacred celebrant, I was handed the ancient rites of passage, and so I was given the flame of Avalon, which was lit in Iona and carried over to Glastonbury, which is the Isle of Avalon, and the Dalai Lama lit the peace flame from this flame as well. So it's really it's an honour to have it. So we're going to light this for Arlene. So the wee light is calling in any stories you'd like to share about Arlene. A crack is welcome as well.
Raylan, who is her best friend since she was about 16, was saying, we were chatting on Facebook, she sent me something like that. And Raylan had a notion of this guy, and probably wasn't as tall as the average guy. And she really fancied him. But later on, she was having a conversation with Arlene, and Arlene, she asked Arlene what she thought of him, and Arlene said, well, he was too small for me. So really tickled Raylan.
Oh, size here.
It's too small.
We'll give a wee special shout out to Arlene too, who's in the States at the minute, I think, watching the live stream. So a special friend of Arlene's.
Yeah, she was a lifelong friend.
Thanks.
It's not necessarily a story, but I think as we're talking, the thing that springs to mind to me is just appreciation. And I think, similar to loads of other people, Arlene volunteered for us at Carnival Colours, but I wasn't aware of the number of different things that she volunteered for and gave her time to. And I think she gave so much to Derry, and we should be really grateful and really thankful for what she gave to us. I know that when we were all talking about the different things she did as well, I felt like anything she did, she gave 100% to. And I found myself, as everyone's talking about the things she did, thinking, how did she have time for all this? Because if she gave her heart and soul to every single thing, but was involved in so many things, I'm just awestruck by that. When she volunteered at Carnival Colours, she was the reception desk, she was the information point, and she took great ownership over that. Very much so. This was her information desk. Nobody else was on this. As Emer said, in her first year there, she fell and hurt herself, and then she was straight back the next year. And I just wanted to wrap her up in bubble wrap, but she was, no, this is my information desk, you go away, I've got this. And I think that spark and that fire that Arlene had will stick with all of us.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I will keep loving.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I think a lesson to learn maybe from Arlene is to just embrace life and, you know, don't let opportunities pass and just do what you need to do or do what you want to do in your life and have no regrets. I think.
I think one of the things for me was I was reading over her messages from about 2012 up to the present day almost. And that kind of, like within days of her coming to Derry, she was in volunteer in a group with me. She just, like, literally days. And one I was sharing with some of the gears too, the work that I'm doing with conflict transformation work and different groups coming into the city, and I would have encouraged Arlene to come along and meet them and, you know, come to the dinner. And this one particular evening there was one of the group members didn't turn up, so I said, Arlene, stay with the group in the hotel. And she did, and I was staying as well, and we were like in a connecting room. And she must have phoned every state in New York because she had free Wi-Fi. So like at 5 o'clock in the morning I was hearing, hi, it's Arlene here, and I'm with the pillow over my head going on, and a whole dialogue. But she was so pleased to get the chance to do that as well, you know. And I think that that point as well, that even when I was reading through the messages, and it was through kind of hard times as well, there was that just positivity. You know, there was that kind of sense of, no matter what was going on in her world, you know, this is really good. And the constant request I got from her was, hook me up with a girl, you know. So she did, she gave it 100%. And she loved the chance to ring everybody. I'm sure there's people on this call that she rang that night. I wasn't loving it at 5 o'clock in the morning, but it was important for her to do that, to connect.
Just looking at the flame too, and just seeing like fire and light and enthusiasm and spark, and it's just blasting out of her. And I'm sure she'd be absolutely delighted, you know, for the send off and the wake, and it's like her wee art museum, her own wee art gallery here the last couple of days, and you know, all the people coming to visit and connecting. And as you say, it's like we didn't know all the different things she was involved in, but we kind of were just like, right, oh, you knew her too, how did you know? And it's really beautiful. You know. Does anybody else want to, Kiva?
I spent a lot of time the last year, or a couple of years with Arlene. We became really good buddies, and we sort of just linked arms and ran around town and went on our adventures, and she was absolute inspiration to me, and we never noticed the age difference between us. It just had the crack, like it was never, but she's just...
She wouldn't tell you your age?
No, I didn't know, to be honest. It doesn't matter much. But we just tried new things, went new places, and she showed me so many new art techniques and how it is to be an artist and just be open to taking everything and learning from people and taking it all in. And she was an inspiration. I'll always think of her when I'm doing anything art-wise or adventuring in Northern Ireland at all. She'll be there with me.
These are 2 wee peas in a pod. Wee being the word. Sorry. But Daisy and I had wild trouble trying to get her age for it to fit and stuff. But we think we got there in the end. You know, but I'll not share that because I don't think she'd want you to know. So, does anybody else want to share? Or?
Just a wee story we have here from Christmas Do. You remember this, Anne? New York. We went to the Mandarin Palace and she got Stan Lee to let her sing. So she did. Oh, she got the whole room going. So she did. New York, New York. So she did. Oh, it was good crack. So it was just her, like, so it was, and she got everybody stood up, give her a clap at the end of it.
Aww. It's like her and Elvis.
And for me, and listening to all the stories about Arlene, and I met Arlene many, many years ago, but didn't have the same level of connection, although when I saw her and was often involved in things, we talked. But Arlene was really brave, and probably a lot braver than I am, because she put herself out there, and she learned from other people, and she wasn't afraid to be who she truly was, and that's to be really admired, and I always remember that.
It's something maybe we can all take, it's just her courage. Thanks. I want to ask Sheila to speak. My battery goes down quickly.
So, I just want to say that.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi. I'm here in Rhinebeck, New York, and Arlene lived close by before she moved. Arlene was a great friend. She was warm, welcoming, and she had a great sense of humor. I met her a little bit over 10 years ago when I ran into my old acting teacher, Cliff. You know, Arlene was his girlfriend, and Arlene was super creative. She loved costumes, dressing up, and acting. And she was part of so many groups. And Arlene just took charge in the kitchen and brought food. She volunteered for just about everything. If there was like a service position or a way to help, Arlene dove right in and took charge. Her dear friend, Raylyn, came over the other day. Raylyn has known her since she was 16. And she had gathered a lot of things that Arlene was not able to take with her to Ireland, and they were stored in my basement. So we went through them the other day, and we saw all kinds of photos of Arlene. She was such an adorable baby, and she was a beautiful, beautiful woman. And Raylene showed me a picture of their prom, and she said, see these murals in the back and see like the elaborate ceiling decorations? Arlene made all of that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. But that was her. Arlene made any place, situation, or relationship better just for being there.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I wrote this down. I just didn't want to forget to say certain things about her because she was such a beautiful person. Arlene was very passionate about helping people break free from oppression. She believed that people had a right to be free, and she stood up for what she believed with vigor and conviction. She was extremely resourceful and crafty. She was clever and helped other people find what they needed without spending a fortune. She was patient, kind, and a good listener. When we got together, we would laugh and make jokes and laugh and laugh and laugh. Arlene had a heart of gold, although sometimes that heart was a broken heart. But Arlene always surrounded herself with people that loved her. She touched the lives of so many people with her kindness and generosity. She loved to give hugs, and she really cared about other people's well-being. Arlene was planning on returning to the U.S., although she did not want to leave Derry. Derry was the land that she loved. Derry was where Arlene wanted to be. Arlene loved the people of Derry, and she loved being part of that community. Although we all loved and missed Arlene, we were happy for her as we knew Derry was her true home. I would say, "I miss you, come home," and she would reply back, "I am home." And just one more thing. So I will think of Arlene when the sun is shining brightly, when I hear the birds singing, when I see a deer in the snowy woods, and when I see a child smiling, and when I feel a soft summer breeze. Arlene is such a beautiful spirit, and we will miss her so much. But as her friend Deborah says, there is a thin veil between heaven and earth. Arlene loved, and she is still with us. Thank you. Thank all of you for gathering here and having this for Arlene.
Thank you so much, Sheila. That's really touching. Thank you.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. So the final element is the element of air. And this is where we say our farewells to Arlene. So I'm calling Arlene and all her ancestors and any beings that come to assist Arlene that she may believe in, to help to carry her across the bridge of souls, to comfort her and welcome her into the light, into the ether, and returning back into the ether. And at this point I'm actually just going to ask us to do that in silence and say our farewells to Arlene, and just take a wee moment of silence. I'm just going to ask you all one more time and invite you to close your eyes, only if you're comfortable to do so, and if you're not, if you just kind of gaze at the ground. I'm just going to finish with a wee visualization for Arlene. So visualize that we're all together, standing in summertime in a forest. Arlene's there, dressed as a Viking, and each of us is there, everyone in this room, including our Zoomers and from America, and all the people that want to be here today, and we're all here together in celebration of Arlene. As you look down and see the ground, there's a sparkling cold, ancient granite, almost quartz-like, glistening with the sunlight. And it's summertime and it's warm, and the sun is high in the sky, and we're at the entrance to a forest, and Arlene is leading us. And as we look down at our feet and take a breath, inhaling and exhaling. And seeing the sparkly, quartzy granite earth beneath us. And as we look ahead, we see that that's a path through the forest. And we go with Arlene, and she's dancing and she's giving it loads and skipping through. She's so happy and she's smiling and she's laughing, and we all feel warm and joyful. It's a good moment. And we keep going through, meandering through this forest, through this path, and we come to a clearing. And at that clearing we look, and there's a little bit of beach. We walk towards the shore, and we begin to see the water, the sea, and we can hear it, we can smell its sweet saltiness. And a boat appears, but it's not any boat, it's a Viking boat, and it's a boat for Arlene. And she turns to us and she invites us to come onto the Viking boat. And all her art's there, and all the things that she loves. And she's dressed as a Viking. as she normally did, often, playfully and joyfully, and deep in her soul. And we join her on the boat, and she invites us all to have one last wee tipple. She has a wee drink, and we all have a drink to toast her, our drink of choice. Maybe vodka, whiskey, champagne. And she takes us across in the boat, through the waters. And we can hear the waves gently crashing against the Viking boat. We can hear the wood of the boat. We can smell it. Going through the waters. Just at the horizon we can see there's a piece of land. And it looks like there's somebody standing there. And Arlene shouts with joy, "It's Cliff. He's come to meet me." And we go to Arlene to the shore. And she jumps off the Viking boat. And she embraces Cliff, her soulmate. And she turns to us with a big smile on her face. And she's ready to say goodbye. And she waves. And we all wave to her, each one of us. And we know that she's going to be okay. And Cliff takes her by the hand, and they walk together over the shore, over the land. We go through the doors of what looks like maybe a temple to return into the ether. And we're still on the boat, and we take that boat back. And it seems to be going faster now back to the shore. And we get off and disembark at the shore. Through the clearing we go. The sun is still high in the sky. We're going through the forest, the meandering path, the sparkly quartz-like granite. And then we come back into this room, and it's time to let go. It's time to say our goodbyes to our beloved Arlene. It's time to take Arlene out. We have one song that we're gonna, from Elaine in America.
Thank you, and thank you for all the beautiful tributes to her.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Arlene and I became friendly around 2014, and then when we moved a couple of years later, she became my moving coach. And she even convinced my husband to get rid of 30 years of journals that he was going to put in a storage facility. And she was such a good money manager, she felt that he should not spend the money on that. And she had boundless energy and was so creative. When I was doing a show at the Performing Arts Center, she created the whole program. I wanted to do a song in tribute, and unfortunately my musical director, my husband, is still sleeping. He's got musician's hours. This is a song that Edith Piaf made famous, and it's called Je ne regrette rien. I don't regret anything. I'm the sum total of all the good and the bad that's happened to me. So this is my morning voice, so please forgive me as it's 6 o'clock in the morning here in New York. Non, je ne regrette rien. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal, tout ça m'est bien égal. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. C'est payé, balayé, oublié. Je m'en fous du passé, avec mes souvenirs. J'ai allumé le feu, mes chagrins et plaisirs. J'en ai plus besoin de balayer les amours avec le trémolo. Balayer pour toujours, je repars à zéro. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Car ma vie a mes choix aujourd'hui. Ça commence avec toi.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming and participating. I know this is not something that's you're used to, but I really appreciate you sharing for Arlene today. I know she'd be absolutely overwhelmed and delighted to hear it.
Thank you, Ciara. It was beautiful.
Thank you. So she's going to be taken now to Kevin, but some people are going to be there to see her off as well. So, thank you.